What up guys, Simba here, and today we're going to be talking about bot creation. The main question today is, should you use joints? Now for those of you who don't know what joints are the part in the game where they're just really used for articulation. You know, they're really made so you can add an animation to your parts, whether it be creating folding blades, you know, your wings coming out, anything like that. Those are what the joints are going to be. Now the joints take up what is called a module unit. You only have 80 of these when designing a robot. And joints don't give any stats. So if you have 50 joints, you have 50 parts that are giving you no stats. So think about that. Does that mean that we're actually nerfing ourselves? We're losing out on those extra stats instead of putting on more parts? Alright, first things first. I just want to go ahead and touch up on the subject of how to better use our module points. So as you can tell from the video in the background, I've made this robot, I have nicknamed her Jointless. She is a complete build where I use no joints and I try to get up to 80 module units. And I would say that the performance is, well, not really that good. Even when my stats are off the charts in almost all areas, the amount of data load that the Jointless has just keeps it back. I don't have the exact math down for exactly when you reach that red data load, how much stats and how much decay it has in effect on your other stats there. If you guys have the math there, go ahead and link it in the comments below, or at least be able to explain it to me. And as well as the exact figures on diminishing on returns, because of course as you stack on more and more parts with the same stats, you're gonna gain less benefit from each point. You know, you can throw on 1,000 boosters. They're not gonna make you go 1,000 times the speed of a normal booster. They're just gonna be like maybe like, I don't know, I can't reach over 500 miles per hour on one of my units just stacking on a ton of boosters, but I can get almost 400 stacking on only like 6. So like things like that. Again, I don't have those exact numbers. If any of you guys do, go ahead and help me out. Shoot in the comments down below. Now with that said, let's go ahead and discuss how to use our module units more effectively so we can then add more in as many joints as we want. Alright, using the compound pieces. I think they're named fractured pieces in the game, where they pretty much have multiple stats. You know, my favorite one is the one that gives you data load and also gives you thrust and turning, because those are the two things that I like to do. I like to be able to go fast and be able to turn good, and as well, and not just have to slap on the big unit that just gives you a lot of data load, because that doesn't do, other than that, it doesn't do anything else. I like using many parts as possible. It gives me more than one stat to free up as much module space as possible. Of course, the reason I try to do this is because I try to keep my weight down, try to keep the total data load down, and I like to be able to articulate my unit. So once I get to a certain level, I'm satisfied with my stats, then I go ahead and articulate it with whatever I have remaining, because of course you have 80 module units, might as well use them. Another way is to only use large pieces. You want to pretty much use the larger generator rather than the smaller generator. Now this really helps you because now the larger pot only takes one module unit, and the two smaller units take up 2, even if you're having the same amount of data load there and stats from both. Now the only reason that I would really start using the smaller pieces is if you're like nearing the end of your design. Like if you only want to reach, like, let's say you don't want to go over 18k data load there, and you're really reaching it, and you don't want to slap on another data load piece just because that's just going to make your craft heavier. You just want to kind of just have like a little bit to go to. Go ahead and slap on a smaller part then, but like I wouldn't slap on so many around your design in the beginning. Maybe for aesthetics, but again, that's just, we're talking about stats here, guys. We're trying to make the best robot that we can. We're not really going aesthetic in the beginning. We can always get our parts first, make our design, and then insert the joints afterwards. Of course, another effective use of our module points is using parts with connectors. Now these really help because you can stack on pieces on top of each other. For instance, some of the blades, the cruising speed blades, have a connector built in, so you can just slap on another cruising part, so you don't have so many pieces all over your robot there. Now this is really trying to go for builds that really don't need a lot of joints, and actually one of my best builds don't have any joints at all, and that is my jointless build. She's actually one of my mains now, because running trial and error and slapping on all the parts and then slowly shaving it off has become probably one of the best experiments I've done and achieved one of the best robots in the game. So you guys should probably give that a shot. You know, throw on as many parts you can and just start shaving it off and only leave the good stuff. Then you may get something good there. Now, I'm talking right now about parts with connectors. You get the parts that have a connector already built in, rather than having to slap on a joint that grants you more connectors. Yeah, you have more connectors in the end, but of course that joint takes up a module unit. Of course, you want to be able to use things like the brake pads that you can go ahead and throw that has a connector on the side. You can throw something on top of that, or you have the cruising speed blades that also have a connector built in, and you can stack those up. Now, of course, like I said, I don't have the exact figures for diminishing on returns, but when you are going near that 80th spot and you have so many parts put on your unit, you may want to. You are not going to get as much out of each of the pieces as you desire. At the same time, that doesn't mean don't slap on as many cruise parts as possible, because if you can afford the data load, if you can keep it down, and that's really your goal, is to have more thruster than anything, I would still go that route and get as much cruise speed as possible, and this really goes for everything else. Now, that's pretty much all we're going to talk about today, is the joints. Again, should you put them on? I say only when you're done with your initial design. I know in the beginning when I first started playing, I used to start with a lot of joints just so I can have the, my boosters and things like that facing in certain directions, and I would always see that, not enough module units in the beginning, and I was kind of confused in the beginning of like, what is that? What does it mean, not enough module units? Oh, the joints also take up a module unit, and I was kind of like, it took me a little bit longer than it should have to get to the bots that I now have. So overall, if you find yourself with a perfect build and have some module space left over, then go ahead and slap on all those rotation joints and add some flair to your unit. If you liked this video and thought it was at least kind of informative, go ahead and hit that like button. If you didn't, go ahead and hit that dislike button. Make sure to check out some of my other videos. Maybe you'll find something you like there. For everyone new, go ahead and hit that subscribe and come back and check me out. Overall, for everybody, thanks for plugging in. This is Contendo. Peace out.
bass, DDR bass, DDR bass, DDR bass. I am here, and my name is Chaos. Rap is to me like music is the Amadeus. Wolfgang, the famous composer. When I stepped in, I told them to move over. I am the new kid on the block and a mission to make your body